Hello, hello. So this video is on the distance formula. If you have not yet learned the Pythagorean Theorem, then I'm going to encourage you to go ahead and stop right now, go back, find my video on the Pythagorean Theorem because I'm going to be using that throughout this video. Everything I talk about is going to go back to the Pythagorean Theorem. So you really, really need to have that down pat before doing the distance formula. Okay? Okay, so the distance formula. You use this to find the distance between 2 points on a graph. So you'll have two ordered pairs. You'll have a point at x1, y1, and then we'll call the second point x2, y2. The actual formula says you take x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared, and then you take the square root. This is a big, nasty mess, right? Like some of you may look at that and think, okay, peace out. No, not doing it. So let me show you what it looks like plugging it into this actual formula, but then let me mega simplify it using the Pythagorean theorem. So if you're going to use this formula, okay, if it helps you to get a visual, let's plot these points. So I have a point at 0, 3 in this example. That means don't go right or left, just go up 3. And then I have a point at 4, 0. So that's right 4 and stay there. I'm looking at this diagonal distance here. So on my x's, the first number in each set of parentheses, 0 and 4, I'm going to take the second one minus the first one. So I'm going to do 4 minus 0 and square it, plus. Then I'm going to look at my y's, and I'm going to do the second one minus the first one, so 0 minus 3, and I'm going to square it. Okay, so keep simplifying. 4 minus 0 is 4, so I've got 4 squared, plus 0 minus 3 is negative 3, and I'm going to square that. Okay, keep simplifying. That's 16 plus 9. So that's the square root of 25, which equals 5. The distance between those 2 points is 5 units. That just seems like such nonsense to me, when all this really is the Pythagorean theorem. And every math book I've seen always teaches this after the Pythagorean theorem anyway. So why teach it as something new? Why not just keep using what you've been using? So when you subtract your x's, that's the distance, the horizontal distance, right? How it changes from right to left. So if you look at these points, it's saying to get from 0 to 4, that's 4 moves, right? That's how we got this here. And then your vertical distance on your y's, right here, to get from 0 to 3 or 3 to 0, honestly, it doesn't matter if it comes out to be negative or not, because you're going to square it anyhow. So those two numbers, those two locations, those points there are 3 moves apart. Well, look what we've made. A vertical line and a horizontal line form a right angle. So here's my hypotenuse. All we did was we took the horizontal distance, 4 squared, plus the vertical distance, 3 squared. We did the math. So 16 plus 9 is 25. And then we did the square root of that to get 5. It's the Pythagorean theorem. That's all it is. So don't get caught up in this formula. I mean, if you want to plug them in and use that, that's fine. I'm just going to keep using the Pythagorean theorem. Why learn something new when you've already got something that works? So let's try it. If you want to plot your points, you 100% can. But what you're going to find is that you need to find the distance that it changes horizontally. So to get from 1 to 5, That's 4 moves. And it doesn't matter on these if it's in the positive direction or the negative direction because you're just moving. You're connecting the points to make a triangle anyway. So a side length of a triangle has to always end up positive. So don't worry about the negative. The vertical distance between 4 and 10, there's 6 moves in there. 4 squared is 16, plus 6 squared is 36. Add those together, I get 52. So that would be like c squared. But then to get c, I need to take the square root. The square root of 49 is 7. So this is going to be just a little bit over 7. I end up with about 7.2. It's just the Pythagorean theorem. On this one, to get from -2 to 1, it takes 3 moves, and I'm going to square it. To get from 0 to 8, it takes 8 moves, and I'm going to square it. I'm going to add those together because this is like my a squared plus b squared. So that's 9 plus 64. That gives you 73. So that's like c squared. And then to get c, you always take the square root from that point. So the square root of 73 gives me about 8.5. That's honestly all it is. Let me show you a couple more. And then if you want to, when you're doing these, if you want to go back to that formula underneath the square root thing, that's fine. But it's really just the Pythagorean theorem. So like I said, why try to get your brain to think of it in a different way or to memorize a formula when you're just doing what you've been doing? To get from 5 to 3, that's 2 moves. It doesn't matter what way we're moving, we're just moving. To get from -2 to 3, excuse me, that's 5 moves. Square it, add them together. So that's 4 plus 25. Add them together, that's 29. That would be my c squared. And now I need to do the square root. That's going to be a little bit over 5 because the square root of 25 would be 5. So that gives me about 5.4. If I can get it right. There it goes. Okay. To get from -1 to 5, that's 6 moves. To get from -2 to 6, that's 8 moves. Add them together. So that's 36 plus 64. That would be 100. That's c squared. I want c, so take the square root of that. Hey, that one's 10 exactly. Let's do one more. To get from 1 to 3, that's 2 moves. To get from 12 to -1, that's 13 moves. I don't care what way we're moving, we're just moving. So that's 4 plus 169. Add that together, that would be 173. The square root of 169 is 13, so this is going to be just a little bit over 13. I end up with about 13.2. That's it. So thanks for watching. This was a short one. So if you feel a little confused, you might want to go back and watch it again. There's a lot of videos out there that will show you with the coordinate plane. They'll graph the points. They'll plug it into that formula, and that's fine. My thing that I always tell my students is do what works for you. If you're getting the same answer, whichever method you pick doesn't matter. I personally just think it's easiest to stick with the Pythagorean theorem on this. So subscribe if it helps. Reach out if you need me. Thanks so much. Bye.